3.
Okay, hello everybody. Today we have a new call in Zoom. So for those of you who are joining us live, we are in the Zoom room that we are gonna use moving forward. I'm gonna say hello to who is in the room right now. We see Noah, Danielle, Joshua, Joshua Lewis, who is also helping us every time, and Jeremy. Hello, and welcome to the people that are watching us on YouTube or Air Mozilla. Today we are so many people because we are introducing Josh and Jeremy to you, and we also have the Ask Me Anything with Asa, as promised. But before moving to the AMA, I'm going to say hello to Josh and Jeremy. You have seen a blog post coming from me introducing two new team members, contractors that are coming to help the SUMO Nation, and you're probably going to see them around on forums and social if you need any help. Josh and Jeremy, would you like to say some hellos?
Hey everybody, my name's Josh, here to help with support here and there to fill in the gaps and maybe on some other projects as well. It's nice to meet everyone.
Welcome. I'm Jeremy, working with Josh. Unfortunately, I'm from home today due to some car issues, but I'm super excited to get started and get rocking and rolling with you guys and making a difference and helping everyone out.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining. So if you have any questions about the role, ask on the blog post or ask here if somebody wants to ask a question here. And of course, you can ask every time, anytime you want anything. With that, I'm gonna be Kiki today. Kiki couldn't join us today because it's rather late and she was kind of sick. So Kiki would like to remind you that the SUMO volunteers that are under NDA can access, of course, Slack. And a lot of you are already on Slack and can see what is happening on organization Slack. There is an extra, like you firstly need to be NDA'd, and after that you need to file another report in order to do so. So Kiki has just renewed how to get access to Slack. There is the link there on the wiki. So if you're interested, file that report, and Kiki and I are reviewing those weekly and are accepting people or denying people, and we'll let you know if you get denied for what reason. With that, I'm gonna pass to the next item of the updates today, which are the product updates. Today, we not only have Roland, but we also have Asa. Asa is here to talk about a little bit about Firefox and what happened last week. And if you have any questions you want to add, please add them on the wiki. I will refresh it, or on the discourse topic, there is already some questions there. So Asa, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. I am a product manager on Firefox. My role has recently shifted some, whereas the last couple of years I've been the product manager responsible for rolling up all of the work the other product managers did into a single roadmap. I'm since moved over to accessibility. That is Firefox and Firefox family of product support for users who rely on assistive technology or accessible features in the browser. These are users with various disabilities. So I have a range of knowledge and interest, and am happy to talk to any questions that cover the Firefox family of products, where my experience has been for many years now. I suppose with that, we could jump into some questions.
Sure. Before I read the questions that are already on Discourse, are there any questions in the room?
I kind of have a freestyle one.
Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Asa?
Hey.
I was wondering, I think this is loosely related to Firefox, or maybe it really is, like, corely related to it, but Trailhead, I keep hearing this name pop up like a million times. Is this like a huge marketing redesign of Mozilla plus some Firefox code?
Yeah, so Trailhead is Trailhead isn't public yet. The name is an upcoming release that will be after 67. It won't have significant new browser features. It's primarily a I don't want to say it's marketing driven, it's product and marketing driven, working closely together to help people onboard essentially to account systems. And to expose our other products to the user. So a lot of Firefox users aren't aware that we have sync available first and foremost, but also aren't aware of Lockbox, now called Lockwise. They're not necessarily aware of our other browser products on mobile. And so this is meant to be an update to Firefox users to inform them of our other product offerings and to try to encourage them to sign up for an account. As I said, it's not public yet, but there are a lot of public bugs and other documentation that mentions the code name, but we're not using that out in the public, so I would encourage you all to also not use that out in the public. We can talk about an upcoming release that's post 67. My understanding is that it will be based on a 67 dot release. So you won't expect significant new features over what's in Firefox 67, with the exception of maybe some updated language in the installer and some updated content in the new tab page when you first launch Firefox. I have been explicitly asked to not use that code name out in public. So I would make the same request of you all. It is completely okay to talk about the upcoming release, the post 67 releases and what they're going to include. But until I hear otherwise from the marketing team, we're just calling this the post 67 release.
Awesome. Yeah.
Does that answer enough of the questions without me getting into a lot of detail? I can tell you more about it from like, the explicit flow, but the point is that when you hit the website to download Firefox, and then you get the installer and you're installing Firefox, and then you launch Firefox, those are 3 touch points we have: the website, the installer, and the first run. And we're going to have some messaging across those platforms that is a consistent messaging flow that asks users to, quote unquote, join Firefox. And by join Firefox, we mean sign up for an account.
Yeah, that was an awesome answer. Thank you so much for that. I was just getting a little bit confused by seeing that code name pop up so much and not knowing what was going on, but I could tell it was a huge project.
Yeah, and as I said, we're not taking a lot of changes into the Firefox code base, so you can see a few bug reports, for example, updating the what's new page and things like that. But mostly this is about a messaging campaign. And when we talk about marketing things, sometimes marketing likes to have, I don't want to say surprises, but they like to have something that comes out and looks fresh and didn't sort of leak out piecemeal to GHacks and then TechCrunch and then CNET and then Forbes, right? Like, we'd rather have them all mentioning it on the day that we do it because it gives us more impact, more users are likely to see it, and it's just generally better for Firefox. Speaking of things that we're not super public about, one thing that I do want to bring your attention to is sort of the opposite of that, which is that we're being very public about the add-ons issue that came up 2 weekends ago. And I want to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes and talk about the add-ons issue. But first and foremost, I want to say we do want to be as transparent and public as we can about that. So we published a blog post while it was happening from the add-ons blog. And I know that you guys are some of the most familiar with this problem because you helped save us from add-on Armageddon. But I do want to say that, like, there was a blog post that went out while it was happening. There was a blog post that went out after it was happening. There was a hacks post that went out, and we're undergoing a post-mortem where we're going to try to determine all of the things that led up to the outage, what we did during the outage, how and whether that was the right thing to do. We still have some users who are stranded, and we're still working with some sort of edge cases. I know that on Sunday or Monday we pushed out a fix for users who had master passwords set, where you weren't getting the fix if you had a master password. And so that post-mortem, when it's completed, we'll publish a document, probably to a Mozilla blog or a hacks blog, that explains all of the details of how we could get that wrong. But I want to say very briefly, my understanding is that the Firefox browser itself was supposed to ignore the expiration date on the certificate, and it was set to ignore the expiration date on the main root certificate, but we had an intermediate certificate that got into the system. And when that one expired, Firefox didn't know what to do, and it did the default thing, which is expired certificate, no access. And so we had to update that certificate in Firefox in order to make things work again. That's a real quick summary, but I do want to say, like, there is this challenge around some things, and I think it generally is marketing related, are a little bit quieter, and we don't run around sort of announcing all of the details ahead of time. But other things, when it comes to the core code, when it comes to the features we're designing and building, when it comes to the mistakes we make with things like add-ons, we are a very transparent organization and like to make as much of that public as possible. So if you see or wonder whether something is public or not, if you see a blog post on hacks, by all means, any content in there is reshareable. If you see something in Bugzilla and you're not quite sure and it looks like it might be marketing related, it's worth asking. And if you ever wonder who to ask about something, I'm on IRC and Slack. I'm in email, ace@Mozilla, so it's real easy. Ace is spelled the same backwards. It's real easy to reach out to me, and I will give you as much information as I can, and I'll also help you make the determination whether or not you want to reshare some information that may or may not be public. And I offer myself up as a resource for that anytime to anyone who needs it. And if I don't know the answer, I'll go figure it out for you.
Thank you very, very much, Asa, for the detailed explanation about what happened. Are there any questions regarding this or any other questions in the room for Asa, or should I go to discourse?
I got like one.
Go ahead, Noah, please.
I think I don't want to cut off Roland.
Go ahead, Noah.
It's about Nightly. I was gonna see if I know there's a lot of things going to Nightly right now, but is there anything that you're excited for in particular? I think you're in love with picture-in-picture, but is there like other stuff that we might not be aware of that's also cool?
Yeah, so Nightly is something I track pretty closely. Every day I read all of the bugs that get resolved as fixed in Nightly, so I have an idea of what landed that day. It's just a real simple query. It usually works out to about 100 bugs.
It's amazing.
About half of those bugs are you can skim the summary and realize you don't want to read the details because it's just a bug fix in some arcane piece of the code. But about half of them I dive in and actually read the bug report to understand what happened to the bug. It takes me probably about 30 minutes a day. And so I track all of the little details. And if any of you guys want to track that too, each Monday in the project call, I update with a handful of the notable bugs that landed in the previous week. And you can see that at wiki.mozilla.org/firefox/roadmap/updates, or join for the Monday call. I am excited about picture-in-picture, and one of the reasons I'm excited about picture-in-picture is that some of the other browsers have this, and we haven't had it, and video is a huge piece of the web. I don't know if you guys have seen these statistics, but I read something a while ago about Netflix being 60% of all of the traffic on the internet, right? Like, so we know that video is a popular use case, and we haven't done a lot in recent years to make video a much better experience. We helped pioneer open video on the web. The idea that we can use a video tag and not Flash is in big part thanks to Mozilla. We drove the spec, we drove the standard, we drove the early implementations. Our first release was, it missed being the first by some weeks, but it was less buggy than the other browser releases and worked really well. But since Open Video and the video tag, we haven't done a lot to make it an amazing experience. And I think that picture-in-picture is one of those things that couldn't have easily happened with plugin-based video, but can with video tag-based video. And so I'm super excited about it. I'm also excited about this new area I'm working in, which is accessibility. And the dev tools are getting increasingly accessible, both in two ways. Users who have disabilities and use tools like screen readers can access and use the dev tools. but the dev tools themselves are also getting tooling support for accessibility. And so we have a whole new inspector in DevTools that we've had for a little while now called the Accessibility Inspector. But Nightly just got a new feature that is a full page color contrast audit. And what this does is you press a single button and it tells you all of the text nodes on the page that fail a color contrast audit, which is important for people who have low vision. So I'm super excited about that. I think that our main browser toolbar also got accessible for the first time in Nightly recently. That'll ship out in 67, I think. But you can now tab to and arrow through all of the buttons on the toolbar, including your extensions buttons and the overflow menu and the Firefox panel, Firefox menu panel. And before, people with disabilities simply couldn't get anything on the toolbar. So they had no way to access their extension buttons. So from my new area of focus, accessibility, I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about new changes coming to Firefox accounts. We're making it easier to authenticate. We've got the ability to pair the Phoenix browser with the desktop browser using a QR code instead of having to do a whole bunch of password dance and stuff. That's exciting to me. I encourage you all to look at the roadmap updates and just skim back through the last couple of months, because it will show you the things that landed in Nightly that will be coming into release versions that we'll need to support, and also that you might be excited as a user to be able to start playing around with. But those are the big things. I think the accessibility improvements, picture-in-picture, I'm excited about the improvements coming to our sync infrastructure and getting sync accounts set up. And then I'm excited about things that are off trains. I think that right now we're doing a much better job at getting out high quality releases of Firefox for iOS and Lockbox and Send and some of our other services. I'm sure you know one of my favorite services to reach Firefox is undergoing a transition right now, and that's screenshots. We're deprecating the server side of that, something that I don't know if you guys are all aware of, but starting a couple of releases ago, we said we're not going to save screenshots on the server anymore. They're just going to be saved to your clipboard or download. I know there's a discussion ongoing about when we actually take the content down from the server. It's still there now. But I would say keep an eye on not just the Firefox core features, but also the family of applications and services that surround Firefox, because those are going to become increasingly important over the years.
Thank you very much, Asa. Since our time is limited, I'm going to ask the question from Seburo. If anyone else has any questions in the room or you would like to add, please add on the discourse post or on Wiki. So we have, let me get on my tab, there we go, a question for Asa from Seburo. DNS over HTTPS looks really cool. Is this something that the contributors can test using the instructions at here? And he links the blog.nightlymozilla.org article, Improving DNS Privacy in Firefox. Is it only for Firefox desktop users or can anyone help test it?
So right now, this is for Firefox desktop users. DNS is interesting. DNS has typically lived, DNS, for those of you who, I'm sure you all have a rough idea of what it is, but it's the lookup that translates an IP, a domain name like Mozilla.com into an IP address like 192.168.0.1 or something. And so every time you load a domain name, it needs to check a DNS server, and that server hands back an IP address that we look up to load the page. The challenge is the current problem is that DNS servers can see all the sites you're looking up that way. And we want to make DNS private. And so DNS over HTTPS is lifting the DNS server up from an OS-wide setting into a browser setting and using the browser's HTTPS engine to secure DNS so that DNS server operators can't snoop on the sites you're visiting. So right now at home, I'm connected to my ISP, and my router has my ISP's DNS server built in. And that means my ISP can see all of the pages I'm visiting. To avoid that, you go into Firefox Preferences in Nightly. I don't believe this is shipped yet. It's possible it has. I need to double check. But you can go into Firefox's Preferences under Nightly, look up Network Preferences. that gives you a subpanel, and in that subpanel, there's a checkbox for DNS over HTTPS. Anyone on Nightly is encouraged to test that and to make sure that all of the websites that they're visiting still works properly. It is, I think, a good privacy feature, but it's controversial because some people believe DNS belongs at the OS level, down a layer lower than the browser, right? That is something that you want to set for all of your apps, not just for the browser. But at Mozilla, we think like we actually build the browser and we don't build the OS. So we can't fix the OS, but we can fix it in the browser. And we think privacy is important enough that we're sort of wresting this feature away from the OS, up-leveling it into the browser and giving users choice. It's off by default because we haven't yet completed all of our testing on it, and we haven't yet settled on whether we will have one or multiple DNS over HTTPS providers. I hope that answers the question.
Well, I don't know, but I have to ask Siburo towards this and tell me if he wants any extra clarifications. Thank you very much, Asa. I'm going to move to the next topics to make sure that we're covering them. Thank you very much for being here today. If anyone, again, has any other questions, please ask on Discourse and Wiki, and I'll make sure that I will see them and I will forward them to Asa. And Asa, of course, you are welcome to come to this call whenever you want to come.
Great. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. For that, I am gonna, there is a list of disabled add-ons fixed for Firefox 5256. So go and check the blog post from add-ons. A little bit, sorry I'm rushing out, but we're running out of time. We have some platform updates, the Firefox account integration on SUMO. So SUMO the accounts we have in SUMO will soon join the Firefox accounts in the near future. So Madalena has written a very nice blog post on what you need to do. It's very easy, especially if you already have a Firefox account. You just connect it there. So go and check it out, what is going to happen, because the login is going to change slightly, and the experience for the SUMO volunteers is going to change slightly. We also had an SEO SUMO issue, the platform Kitsune. We were not appearing on Google on the top results when people were searching, so it was resolved with the help of amazing Tassos and other engineers last week. If you want to know more about it, go and check this out. Also, Kiki asked me to remind you, and this actually connects very well with what Asa shared about the DOS release, that our Firefox sprint is going to happen a week afterwards. That's what we decided. If you remember, we have the Firefox sprint every time we have a release, which should have been happening next Tuesday when the release is coming out on the 21st, I think, or 22nd. Roland remembers those dates.
21st.
21st. Thank you, Roland. But because we're going to have the dot release that Asa just announced, we are going to bridge the dot release with the first release, and we're going to start our sprint on the 28th. So instead of having the 2 last weeks of May, we're going to have the last week of May and first week of June. Of course, Kiki and I are going to remind you about this all the time. We just wanted to let you know also in the call. Okie dokie. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Oh, I didn't ask. Roland, would you like to add anything today?
No. Are we delaying our SUMO sprint by a week? Is that official as well? Sorry, yes. I missed that in the wiki. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, all hands on deck for starting the, when are we starting our sprint? The week of the 27th. And hopefully that will encompass our, the release that Asa mentioned, the post 67.0 release with the onboarding improvements. And yeah, life is good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Vancouver. See you all next week. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.